Hi everyone, I'm Emily, and this is Emily Ask Everything Teenagers and Their Parents Should Know in 2026. This podcast is about things that no one ever taught you growing up, like life skills, confidence, money, friendships, and understanding the world we're growing up in. In each episode, I ask expert real question teenagers are thinking about today. Today I'm joined by Dr. Rebecca, a psychologist and a neuropsychologist, and we talk about how to manage stress and anxiety during uncertain times. I ask her a series of questions like, what do you do when you walk into an exam and your anxiety is so high you forget everything you practice? And what is the secret the doctors and therapists use to make themselves more calm? Right before we start, if you find this conversation valuable or you think someone can benefit from it, please follow and share the podcast. By doing that, you're not just supporting the channel, you're helping more teenagers and parents get access to information that can truly let them grow. So thank you, and let's begin. Hi guys, I'm Emily.
And I'm Dr. Rebecca.
Welcome back to Emily Ask Everything Teenagers
And their parents
need
to know
in
2026.
Today I have with me is Rebecca Zeigenster. Did I pronounce your name right?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Would you like to present yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Emily, for having me. I'm very
so
excited
honored
to be here today.
Me too.
And I'm Dr. Rebecca. I'm a clinical psychologist and clinical neuropsychologist. So that means that I specialize in working with children, teenagers, and adults in terms of supporting them with their mental health, as well as helping them understand what might be going on for them if they have any learning or developmental difficulties.
I think that's just amazing, and I'm really happy and honored to have you on my podcast.
Thank you so much.
So, right before we start this episode, it was really important for me to talk to my friends about how they feel and how they cope with anxiety or stress. And many of them shared my experience. So, I tried to summarize a lot of questions that teenagers have, and some of them would be answered today in this episode. So, let's get right into it. I'm very excited.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
Lots of teenagers today feel overwhelmed by news, by fake news, from TikTok and other platforms. And from a psychological perspective, what happens inside our brain when we constantly live in stress?
Very good question. I think stress has such a huge impact on our cognition, on our thinking, on our behavior, on our relationships. And in our minds and in our brains, there's a stress response that happens when we're triggered by something. One of the main things that happens is that we become hypervigilant. We're looking out for noise. We're always looking for ways to protect ourselves and to safeguard ourselves. And so we actually then start to realize that our thinking becomes more quick, our breathing can also become faster, and we're just not at ease, not as relaxed as we normally are.
Yeah, I really understand what you're saying. Like I remember I was at my friend's house and all of a sudden we heard a car and she like sprang up and got scared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're becoming so much more hypervigilant to other noises, even if it's just cars or construction noise around us, especially if we're starting to get used to the sounds of things like happening in the world that maybe we don't want to talk too much about.
Dr. Rebecca, why does sometimes these situations feel harder for teenagers than for adults? What's different in their brain that it's harder for them to cope?
So I don't know if it's so much necessarily about there being differences in the brain as to how mature the brain is in comparison from teenagers to adults. So it's also about lived experience. Adults will have a lot more life experience. They may have encountered situations like this. They know how to handle stress. They also know how to manage uncertainty. When the teenager's brain or the adolescent brain is taking a lot of information in and trying to process it, trying to organize it, it has an additional load on the brain that is so much more than what adults would need to deal with.
How can teenagers know if they're having a bad day or if their emotions are overload and they need to talk to someone about it?
It's a very good question. And I think there is a big difference between having a bad day, which we all have.
Yeah.
Good days, bad days, highs and lows, versus knowing and getting to a point where you actually need to seek support. So a few of the things that I've noticed in some of the clients that I'm working with and teenagers that I know personally, friends of family, is that they would have quite significant changes in their mood. They'd be finding themselves more irritable, more restless, maybe a little bit more angry than normal, low in motivation, finding it difficult to concentrate, and finding themselves feeling either very tired or much more hyperactive and much
Mhm.
more high in energy than they're used to.
And can you give me 3 signs that shows that teenagers are overwhelmed?
So, one, feeling too hungry or too tired more than often than not. So, excessive eating or under eating,
Yes.
loss of appetite, excessive sleeping, or not sleeping enough or finding it difficult to fall asleep.
Mhm.
And anger and irritability are probably the main areas that you will start to notice a change in mood.
Now, be honest with me, Dr. Rebecca.
Sure.
What's the secret that doctors use to make themselves a bit calmer every day? A little exercise, basically.
Okay, so I love mindfulness. This is something I work with all of my clients. Mindfulness, meditation, grounding techniques are the core to
Yes.
keeping us feeling stable and settled within ourselves. So there's a variety of different techniques. Many of us can access some of these techniques off apps, but I personally love progressive muscle relaxation.
Hmm.
Controlled breathing techniques. So we're
Yeah.
talking about the box breathing technique. There's various other ones like
Yeah.
the star
Could
breathing.
you show us it? Like, for
Sure.
example, like imagine now I need to calm myself down a bit.
Right. So if you're having panic symptoms and your breathing is very, very
Yeah.
elevated, your heart rate is very fast, you're feeling sweaty or unstable, and you really need to calm down in that moment because your mind is racing, I would encourage you to take short, like long, deep breaths in through your nose. You can hold it for 4 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold. And then breathe out slowly through your mouth until your breath is completely
I feel a
empty.
bit calmer already.
Already, right? So I use the 4-2-6 method. So 4 counts in,
Mhm.
hold for 2 counts, and then breathe out slowly through your mouth for 6 counts. But everybody does it
Yeah.
differently. The box breathing is just about visualizing that there's a box in front of you, or have it looking like a box in front of you, and you're breathing in and then out, and then in and then out. So there's different ways of doing
Yeah.
it. I also really love grounding techniques. So there is a sensory soothing technique called the 5-4-3-2-1 method, which is amazing. So really it's about looking around the room and finding a way of grounding your senses. So for example, you look for 5 things that you see around the room that you wouldn't normally see, as well as 4 things that you can feel.
Like senses, basically.
Senses, exactly.
Yeah.
So you might feel the shoes on your feet or the hair around your
Yeah.
neck,
Or your
or
clothes.
your clothes, exactly. Or if your nose is a little bit itchy
Yeah.
sometimes. And then you also have the 3, which is 3 things that you can hear, whether it might be the hum of the AC
Hmm.
outside, or the noise of cars,
Yeah.
or the noise of footsteps. 2 things you can smell. So it could be sniff of your perfume or your hair, or if there's a candle nearby that you can grab and just slowly inhale the scent.
Yeah.
I love using essential oils as a way of calming the nervous
Yeah, I
system
do
down
think a lot
through
of people
smell.
use it. It's amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even a drop of um, lemongrass or a drop of peppermint oil, rubbing it in your hands and breathing it in like that can instantly switch your nervous system
Yeah.
into calm
I
and
think that's
rest.
amazing, really. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
the
I think that's
last
really
one is taste. So, taste is a difficult one because you may not have a drink next to you or a sweet next to you, but if you do, it's a really important thing to try just to take a tic tac or a piece of gum, chew it, and then focus on the sensation of the flavor as
yeah.
it covers your
Yeah.
mouth.
So, my next question. In this podcast, we talk a lot about AI. What are some AI tools that teenager could use to make themselves a bit calmer, like an app or like maybe ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that that they could talk to?
So I'm one of those people that I do really appreciate AI. I think it's very helpful, but I do think we need to be a bit careful with it.
Mhm.
Some of the time, AI can lead us down certain paths that are not always very helpful. If you're looking for techniques and strategies and you need something in the moment to help calm you down, I feel like ChatGPT or various other AI platforms like that can be very helpful for giving
Yeah,
you tools and suggestions. But
like a
when it
best friend
comes
to talk to.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I think it's also really important to develop a relationship with someone who you can really trust, who can give you guidance, and who gets to know you on a human
yeah, yeah,
level.
yeah.
And that's why I think therapy, or even just talking with your mom or your best friends, people that you can really trust, can be just as effective, if not more effective,
Yeah.
than speaking through AI tools.
How can parents talk to their teenager about fear or the news without uncertainty or making them anxiety worser?
So we need to be careful. It depends on the age of the
Mhm.
child or the teenager, and it depends on how mature they are.
Do you mean
Sometimes
like 10, maybe?
yeah, so I think from age 10 onwards, we can have quite honest discussions
Hmm.
with our children and with our teenagers about what's going on in the world, why certain things are happening. But I am cautious about how much information I would share with my children. Too much information can also create more
Yeah.
anxiety. But we also need to be honest and upfront about the
Mhm.
fact that there
Of
are things
course.
going
Yeah.
on around the world, and there are things that aren't very pleasant that are happening that we need to be aware
Yeah.
of. There is right and wrong in the world, and we need to understand that without overwhelming the child with too much information that they can't really understand or really put into context.
If a teenager feels embarrassed or is scared to ask for help, what do you want them to understand most out of it? Like they're scared and they don't know to talk to their parents or therapists or their friends or no one. What do you want them to know? That it's okay, that it's not okay? Like,
I think it's super, super important to remember that you're not alone.
yeah.
One of the things that we feel when we're in flooded with our emotions is that we're not able to think clearly.
Yeah.
We don't know what we want or who we want or what will make us feel better. So I always recommend going to an adult that you trust, whether that be a parent that you're close to or a best friend, an aunt, anyone that you feel like you can connect with. It could even be a teacher or a school counselor. You never have to feel afraid or to feel unable to talk to anyone. It's that person that can then decide and help you discuss the next steps. What would be good for you? What do you need in that moment? What kind of support can you
Mhm.
get? And they will be able to guide you.
I think you're really completely right. And it really emphasizes how a lot of teenagers are scared and they're worried and they don't know what to do.
Yeah,
So, my final question comes to let me give you a little example on it.
sure.
So, for example, I love math and I worked so hard and I understand all the material.
Okay.
And I practice really well for the subject. And then all of a sudden, I come to the exam and I'm scared and I don't know what to do and anxiety creeps in. What can teenagers do, or a child, or anybody, or even someone who's in university can do to help them doing like when they're scared and they come to the exam and they forget everything? What can they do to help them?
It's such a big question, and I think
Yes.
such an important one because I had exactly the same thing. In fact, the only opposite thing was I didn't really like maths. I found maths really difficult, but that's exactly what would happen to me with certain subjects. I would study really, really hard, put all the effort in, and get to the exam and just freeze and be unable to cope. One of the things we need to work on is performance anxiety. We don't usually get enough strategies or coping mechanisms for that. Learning what triggers you, learning how to soothe your stress just before an exam or even well before, especially during periods of a lot of study, is very, very important. And techniques like mindfulness, relaxation, spending time with friends, making sure you're exercising, sleeping enough, and sleeping well is all very critical to have for you to have the skills to cope with stress. You might still get anxious during an exam, and that's completely normal. But having all of those elements in place are going to make sure that you're not going to blank out or struggle to perform your best on those exams.
Thank you so much for coming. I honestly had so much fun talking with you, and I'm sure everybody that's listening loved it so much. And guys, if you're listening to this, I think Dr. Becca gave so many important tools today. So please share it with a lot of people because maybe someone needs help and they haven't said anything. So please share it with a lot of people. Thank you so much. I had
Thank you for
so much
having
fun.
me.
I'm so honored.
And I'm really appreciating that you had me on, and I'm always happy to help. If anybody has any more questions or concerns or wants to direct some specific questions to me, don't hesitate.
Yeah, don't hesitate to write in the comments, and we'll try to episode next time if Dr. Becca comes.